Alright, so this is video response number 80 to Philos71's 5 questions every intelligent atheist must, emphasis on must, answer. So apparently there are 5 questions that he thought up himself, but he doesn't actually cite anything, so 5 questions he thought by himself that will stump every atheist that comes upon them, or has the ability to cause intense questioning of atheistic belief. So, I am myself an atheist. I do not believe in a God. I do believe that the universe could have been created by a God, but the evidence does not support a God, and therefore I do not subscribe to any earthly religion. So, yeah, let me get started. I only have about a minute left, so I wrote out all of my responses, so I will be looking at the computer. That's why I'm not looking at the camera every time I say something, so I'll do my best to improvise if needed, to be witty and condescending. So here we go. Question number 1. Do you use chance in the exact same way in which you accuse Christians of using godlike gaps? No, and I'll tell you why. Christianity does not use chance the same way that science does. Christianity uses chance to explain the unexplainable, while science uses chance to explain why something that can naturally occur actually occurred in the first place. That being said, the only system that uses chance in its actual sense is the Christian one. And as you even said,
that's just not very intelligent in my opinion.
And random variation is not a biological anomaly. Variation between people and species is quite tangible. Natural selection is not a biological force. Instead, it's a name used to describe that an animal with favorable traits will survive longer than one with less favorable traits and will have increased chances of passing its genes to the next generation. That being said, evolution by natural selection is not pure chance. Question number 2. Why should there be something instead of nothing? There is no point to life, we merely exist to survive, and we should all kill ourselves because some conceited dick did not create us to give him compliments every day. The world shows no evidence for intelligent design. In fact, the odds of a life-sustaining world appearing somewhere in the vast expanse of the cosmos is actually in our favor. We know it can happen, Earth, and we know it can happen other places, and you kind of never touched on how intelligent design can be seen in the natural world at all. This is kind of an answer to both questions 3 and 4, which basically go, how did morality, question 3 was, where do you get your morals, and number 4 was, how did morality evolve? But first, is what we believe to be moral because it is commanded by God, or is it commanded by God because it is moral? Morality is not a set bunch of rules. Culture conditioning goes a long way to actually give you morality. The great apes that we share, like some kind of 97, 98, 99% of our DNA, have no way to look into the future. That is, they don't perceive where they will be in a future space. So they only operate to help themselves in the present. We do. I'm not so sure of the experiment, but I'm sure thousands of people have seen it. The experiment goes like this. When a toddler is asked to pick up a pencil to give to an adult, the toddler goes to pick up the pencil and give it to the adult. They don't receive a reward at all. Humans evolved the ability to give without receiving to develop into a more social animal, and as human social skills developed over time, they became more complex and allowed for cultural conditioning to take hold on the mind. So basically, the toddler's instinct to give without receiving is an evolved trait. The toddler is incapable of actually seeing itself in the future tense. It does not say, well, if I do this now, maybe they'll do something for me later, because it is a toddler. His brain is not developed. This is entirely instinctual, an evolved trait. And of course, cultural conditioning allows social traits that would not be passed down naturally to be given to offspring. So when an adult says no elbows on the table, they learn not to put their elbows on the table. That's not something that is automatically known out of the womb. That's something that the parents of the offspring, the baby, teach. So morality did not evolve as much as it was built on by successive generations. And as a response to your caveman example of why morality evolving is so preposterous, the instinct to protect your own existence overrides your individual morality. So because, like I stated in the response to question number 2, we only exist to survive, you want your genes to be passed on and not the opposition's. So killing your own species to secure that isn't detrimental to survival, it's part of survival. Alright, so question number 5 now. Can nature generate complex organisms in the sense of originating it when previously there was none? And I liked your little camera trick that made it very professional looking and less informative, more commercial. Yes, so what most Christians believe is that evolution had a set level of perfection to achieve and that it had to be met in an allotted amount of time, so that what we see now is what was always going to happen. So an oak tree had to come into existence, and the goal was to always make an oak tree. And I'm sure you were expecting anything other than this, but no, that's not how it happens. Evolution does not constantly push a species to become perfect. It creates organisms that can better survive in a set ecosystem. So if an animal is introduced to an ecosystem, it will change, otherwise it will die, to fit that ecosystem. And if that means going a step backward and adopting traits that previously became obsolete in another ecosystem, then that's what would happen. And the entire notion of perfection is subjective anyway, so it has no place in a debate at all. For the less imaginative people, the end of the world's development, and therefore the pinnacle of all existence, will never be reached because it does not exist, and the world is always changing. Just because we see ourselves now does not mean this is how it will always be. The animal world will be greatly different millions of years from now. Humans, however, will not survive that long, unfortunately, because we no longer depend on natural selection for our own continued development as a species. Our medical advancements allow people with genetic diseases and physically debilitating diseases to survive and pass on their genes. The average human has little need to think constructively or creatively at all anymore. Instead, most people become drones of society, destined to lives of mediocrity and monotony with no chances of increased learning. This will ultimately lead humans to become an even weaker species than they already are, less intelligent species than they already are, and all-around failures at existing. Sounds pretty bleak. Yeah, if I knew that, I don't think I'd want to be an atheist. Doesn't Christianity sound a little bit more fun? I think I'd be a Christian if I had no means of bettering myself, or I was forced into monotony by some other power that wanted to enslave me and keep me subservient. And come to think of it, that kind of helped the people that are enslaving me and making me become subservient if I had a religion that told me no matter what happens here, up there, it's going to be much better. Can we not say that Christianity was an organized religion created to help another organization?